So first things first, good to talk to you again. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm well. It's a nice day here. I'm in Stroud, which is where I live, and it's really lovely. So yeah, can't complain.
Well, you have some new music coming out, and should we see this as the kind of second chapter in the part of a relationship? If we take first love is the first chapter, and this is the second kind of part of a relationship.
I think so. I think it would be being quite kind to say that there was a master plan totally at play with these two EPs. I think when we started working on the idea of making a Blue Hours album, we wrote a lot of songs over the pandemic. It didn't feel like it felt really hard to write anything, but then when the pandemic kind of ended, it was like, well, actually, there's a lot of music here. It was all just a bit. I don't know if your brain was like this during the pandemic, but like focusing on one thing became just so much harder. And like, so there were lots of songs about different things. And I think part of the job after that was kind of talking to like our label and stuff and kind of working out how things connected. And I think for me, when we kind of saw the original, this as like an album and as a part two to Blue Hours. And then it quite quickly became like, well, actually, no, these songs all feel like one voice and these songs all feel like a different voice. And yeah, to answer your question, which I'm taking my time doing, um, yeah, it feels like maybe the first EP is a slightly younger, more like naive person. And the second one is perhaps a slightly wiser, but maybe slightly more jaded person. I don't think either of them have got it right. I think that they're both got it wrong, but in different ways. But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the pandemic made me quite reflective for early relationships and formative experiences, falling in love and stuff. And it's such an interesting thing to look back on, and I quite enjoyed doing it. So yeah.
But it's also a somewhat confronting process, I would imagine, because you kind of delve through those relationships with the mind of somebody who's a lot older and hopefully wiser. So you see all the mistakes maybe that you've made, or you see all the well, let's just delve into it. A song like Imitation, you see the insecurities of yourself back when those relationships were going on. So what was it like delving into those kind of very personal and being honest with yourself about those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, I think if I knew how to write songs in like a different way, I would try. But I think it's just part of the nature of doing it. I think I'm just really drawn to writing about stuff when I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I can't. I'm not the best communicator in person, so
Mm.
I think for me, like songs like Imitation are really like I would find that impossible to even try and say to a person. And like the song has a line in about like I wish you could hear all the things that I can't even sing about.
Mm.
And it's like almost like that song is like quite a like an open like exploration of your own vulnerability and insecurity.
Sure.
It's like, but even within that, it's like this isn't even, there's more like, and I think there's probably truth to that with everyone. It's like even I think we're all quite, about as deep as you can go, really. So, yeah, but I think, yeah, I think it's always challenging doing it, but it's the only real way I know how to write songs. I just don't know how to write a song that's quite like easy and chilled out. I wish I did. I wish I did. And I'm sure some of our audience really wish that we did that more as well, but I find it
No, but
impossible.
it seems to resonate. So you touch upon something that a feeling that is quite universal, I would say, or at least a lot of people can find something in it. So I mean, that should tell you something, right?
I hope so. Yeah. Well, I think it often like whenever we have a song that talks about something difficult and we perform it, there is a chemistry in the room that you can just feel like other people are experiencing their own story through that song, and that's a really powerful thing.
Sure.
So yeah.
But you mentioned kind of being scatterbrained during the COVID thing, finding it difficult to focus on one particular thing. So were these songs written all kind of how should I put it? What's I'm blanking on the words. Did you write them in sequence, so to say? Did you write the White Magnolia songs for in a row, and did you write
No, I think like quite a lot. It was all really
all over the
scattered,
place? Okay,
all over the place.
that's
And
what I was looking for.
I think with Blue Hours, we chose like I think the intention with Blue Hours was to try and make a record that felt like just as succinct as possible, and like as like we could throw all similar sonic ideas at it, and it would take it. And I think I was like, there were songs like Summer and Smoke that I'd written really early on that I loved, but I was spit like, I don't want to do this on Blue Hours because I felt like it was such an intimate song, and that ended up being on First Loves. And then I guess Imitation would be an example with White Magnolias. It was like those songs just felt so intimate
Mm,
that the idea of putting like arpeggiated synthesizers and drum machines and full band going nuts on that, just it just felt like wrong. Or like not even like, I don't think there is like a right and a wrong, more just like not what I wanted those songs to uh
mm,
feel like. And I want, they were so intimate that I wanted them to feel really intimate. And I think I'm learning, like as we do this longer and longer, I think Kev and I are both learning, but there's this constant push and pull in Bez Den of breaking out and being like a sort of more of a traditional rock band, and then there's this other side that is just super intimate.
sure.
And I feel this like calling to do both justice, because I feel like I'm as inspired by like Sufjan Stevens or something as I am by The National or something like that. It's
Mm,
I love uh I love the rockier side of things, and the more sort of playing around with different rhythms and things like that is super exciting to me. And Kev's like incredible at helping to orchestrate all that stuff as well. And then there's this other side of me that's like, just needs to be like, these really tender moments need to be done justice and feel as intimate as possible. And yeah, so I think these EPs gave us a chance to play with that as well, which was nice.
Yeah, is that where a song, or at least the music for a song like Loneliness comes from then, where it starts off very intimate and then it keeps growing in a sense, and it doesn't go full synthesizer or anything, but there is a real band feeling at the end. So,
Yeah, that was like the funnest song, I think, in terms of recording. I think that was my favorite to record. I'd written that one a really long time ago, and we just hadn't found a home for it. We couldn't work out where it should go. And then again, it was just once enough songs came together, and Loneliness and Honest Mistake felt like related, and Imitation felt related to them. And then White Magnolias as well. They all had this kind of something about them all was just like, right, there's something going on there. But yeah, like that song was started as a piano ballad. I actually co-wrote that song. One of the first songs that we've kind of explored writing with someone else was a friend of ours called Tommy Heap. He's an amazing songwriter, amazing musician. He's played a lot with Matthew and the Atlas,
mm,
but he also has his own solo sort of piano music, which is beautiful. But anyway, we were just sort of, he was helping me build the piano part for that song, and yeah, it was just a real. So it started as that, and there was a demo of that, and then that was kind of put in one folder on like Dropbox or a Google Drive or whatever, and forgotten about. And then we kind of just brought it out, and everyone felt excited about it. And then as soon as I shared it with Kev, and then shared it with Jules and Christoph as well, who play with us live, but also in the studio, it just it was a really fun song for me to just sit down and play piano and kind of let
mm,
those guys just go for it. And like Kev is an amazing musician on multiple different instruments, but it's really fun also when he's just like on playing bass and just absolutely smashing that. That's like his sort of home. He absolutely like
sure.
smashes that. Um, and yeah, just like getting to do that as a playing piano with someone absolutely nailing that, and then Jules and Christoph brought so much as well, and it was just really fun. I just felt like I was the luckiest guy ever. I just sat down like half trying to like keep up with everyone, like should play, but half also just listening and enjoying what they were all doing. So that was really fun.
Oh, that's great to hear. Now, I wrote a couple of lines down from that song that I found interesting. Love taught me what loneliness is, and it taught me how to forgive what no one should make you. What kind of mindset were you in? Do you remember what kind of ignited this song, or what kind of sparked this song to be written?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange story, but another friend of ours, called Benny, who used to tour manage Bears Den.
Mm,
This is kind of quite a common thing that happens in Bears Den. We work with people who are, he was our tour manager technically, but he was actually also a really, really good songwriter and a really,
mm,
really good guitarist. And actually, he's also a really good photographer, and that's now what he does. And he took all the photos for the Blue Hours, for our Blue Hours thing, are all by him. He's really talented at that, as well. But he wrote this song. Well, he wrote these lyrics out and he sent them to me, and he was like, "Oh, like I wonder if this sparks anything," kind of thing. And it had the line in it saying like, "I want to know what it is. I want to know what that loneliness is." And it was literally like his idea completely.
okay.
Um, and I then kind of basically this song is an answer to the question. And his song was all about like, I want to fall in love, I want to be with someone, and I want to experience the highs and lows of a relationship. And my song was like kind of going like, if you want to experience that, here's my experience of it. And I hope it's not totally negative, but it's like I think I don't feel totally negative about my experiences with it. I think the song might sound like I am, but I think there is an element of like you don't really know what loneliness is until you've been in love with someone and then lost them, or have felt alone in a relationship with someone, which is probably maybe even worse than like losing someone. So yeah, it was like I guess the song was an answer to his lyrics, really. And yeah, he's just like a super talented and a friend of ours who's like always inspired us as well. So yeah,
No,
that was
but I
fun.
think you're right. Musically, it never sounded depressing to me. The way the piano, the chords, the sequence, it almost feels a little bit uplifting. Obviously, a piano by itself is very intimate, but it didn't feel um, yeah, defeated or anything. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's I think that's something that I can't take too much credit for. I think quite a lot of these songs, if it was just me playing them, would might sound a little defeated. I think like that's a lot of that's in the fun of being in Bears Den, is that there's a sort of joy to the fact that when we all play these things, they turn into these like uplifting moments rather than the lyrical stuff on its own might seem quite down. I think if you read it, you'd be like, God, is this guy okay? And then like live, it feels like a chance to, I don't know.
No, and I mean the musical landscape does that, I think, because you've praised Kevin before, how good of a musician he is. So how do you try to get the best out of him, if that makes sense,
I
in
mean,
terms of
I don't have to try. Like, I don't. I mean, it's not really on me to try. I think Kev doesn't really know how not to
Mm,
be. Yeah, he's really intuitive and really good at. I think I'll come in with songs that will vary. So some songs will not need a lot. Some songs like Imitation, there's a conversation that's more like, dude, I think you should just do this on your own kind of thing, because there's nothing I can think of that's gonna turn that
mm.
into totally, and there's also a conversation between me sometimes going like, I feel like I just want this song to be really, really intimate. But I think I mean, he's so talented on so many different instruments that it makes my life really easy. So I can be sitting at a guitar and he can go to the piano, and he's just often just very sympathetic parts and parts that really help tell the story. He's just an incredibly intuitive musician. I think beyond being really, really good at lots of different instruments, which I think lots of people can be, he has a sensitivity with that takes it to like another level. So yeah, I mean, I can't really sing Kev's praises enough musically. Yeah, just extraordinary, really. And I'd say also, like, just the more we work as well with Jules and Christoph, that they have a similar sensitivity to what we do. We are so spoiled, and with Marcus Hamlet and Harry Mundy as well, who we play live with and who also play on recordings. Like, I think the thing we look for from other musicians and probably found in each other was we liked what each other did, but we had a sensitivity to what each other could bring as well to the band. And I think we found that with all of those guys as well. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Finally, then, you've explored these two aspects of love, or these two kind of stages within love. Is there another aspect of love that you would like to delve into, or have tried to delve into?
Um, well, I think like I think I sort of hint at a few. I mean, I think another thing that's made me kind of go into looking at it is that I obviously know about falling in love as like a young guy falling in love for the first time and as a teenager and or whatever, and having various relationships growing up and reaching this point now. But this, like, previous, like, well, 2 years ago I became a dad, and this
Mm.
year I got married, and I think both of those things massively make you like assess and look at love in a different way. Particularly becoming a dad, I think, is like, that's just such an amazing, joyful, like, exhausting but magical experience. But like, you just, it's, I remember my mum always used to say to me, like, you'll never know until you have a kid what it's like, and she was right. And it's like you think you know what like love is, and then you find out what love actually can be. And I think it's sort of in my relationship with my partner as well. I think making that kind of step towards marriage was like a real commitment, and there's something about that that's like, wow, okay, this is like another level again. And I think naturally when you get married, you look through your entire like history that leads you to that point, and maybe the part of these songs came from that. But in terms of like things I'd love to talk about, I listened to a record recently that I think is really amazing by a band called Flight, who are based in the
Okay.
UK. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I haven't. I'm gonna look them up.
Yeah, so it's spelled Flyte.
Okay.
And they're awesome. And their new album is sort of, it's all like, I feel maybe I don't want to sort of put words in their mouths or anything, but it feels like it's an album that's really about uh being in a kind of quite happy relationship, or like, it's not, there's no big drama. It's just quite like, it's just sort of beautiful and honest, and but it's like little things. It's not, oh, that's my dog Nelson going crazy. But it's just like little things in a relationship. Nelly, come here. Hey, like your dog barking loads. It's the kind of things we talk about in their songs. But it's a really beautiful album, and there's no high drama or anything. And I think I'd love to learn how to make an album that's less uh reliant on tension and sadness, and was actually just more exploring, like, I don't know, somehow writing interesting songs about a quite peaceful life would be the dream. But I think you need to have quite a peaceful life to write those songs, and I don't know if I have that, but we'll see.
Well, but to bring kind of the interview for a full circle, then, because we earlier on in the interview we talked about kind of that the way you write songs is that you can't help but be very very vulnerable and introspective and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And that tends to go towards the more melancholic, I suppose, or the more sadder side of life. So how do you imagine your songwriting if you are happy, or if you are in a very happy go lucky mindset?
Yeah, it's become a lot harder. I think, yeah, I think it is difficult to write songs when you are sort of, my overriding thoughts now are sort of like waking up, taking my daughter to nursery, making sure she has breakfast, and sort of, and cleaning up after it and all that stuff. It's sort of very like little jobs, and kind of, yeah, like, and I feel very, oh, sorry, hey Nelson. Sorry, he's just very yappy today.
Oh,
But like,
that's all good.
yeah, but yeah, just like yeah, I think that's one of the things I'm sort of learning is like I do feel relatively happy at the moment in terms of like I feel very lucky, and that's challenging for as a songwriter. It's quite a difficult environment to write songs in, but I just keep trying things, and I'm naturally a reflective person as well, so I think I'll always to some extent find things. But yeah, it's a good question, and it remains to be seen, I think.
Well, but it's a there's a line on the album now. I have to figure out what it was again. I think I wrote it down. Maybe you're the last mystery left in a world hellbent on explaining itself to death. And
Mm.
something I think about a lot is I'm a very analytically minded person. I can be, at least, and I have to try to kind of keep that under control, because you can explain everything to death or rationalize everything to death, as kind of that lyric indicates as well. So this
Yeah.
thought, where does that come from for you? This idea of not trying to overanalyze or get stuck in your mind.
I think for me it was like I guess the concept kind of came from yeah, exactly what you just said, really. Like just this idea that like everything needs to be like put it like I don't know, especially when you're like, for example, working in the music industry, that's a very like that's a world where people quite often people like putting things in boxes and categorizing
Mm,
them. And and with the band, I've never felt like it's easy to just go, Bearsden is this or that or whatever, and or like my songs are this or that or any shape or form. They don't have like a specific thing. It's just like, and I think the more I ever try and box anything, the more I don't enjoy it or the more I can't do it or whatever. And I
mm,
think it's true with my relationships with people. I think often like when you try and like put people into like any kind of this person is does this or doesn't do that or whatever, like it's limiting for people and it's not true. And it's like I think people are just like endlessly fascinating, endlessly surprising entities. And I wanted to write a song that was kind of like celebrated that and was like, I don't want to try and like categorize you or sort of say like,
right.
oh, this person is this or that. You're your own thing and you're like you sort of I don't know. It's I was kind of I think it was like trying to think where it kind of came from originally, but I think it was that was the sort of principle of it. It's just not trying to yeah. Bob Dylan's got a song called I Just Want to Be Friends with You or
Yeah,
and like I was kind of in my head it was a little bit like similar ideas, just like I don't want to categorize you. I don't deny, defy, or crucify you.
sure.
I want to do any of these things. I just want you to be you, and I just want to be friends with you, and I just think you're cool. Like that's, and I think for me, it was like that song's just like a love song. And I think maybe White Magnolias is the only one that's quite sincere and sort of lovely. It's just that
Mm.
one. It's quite like I just, you know, this idea of someone who you really care about, and you're not trying to like define them or change them. You just like, no, you're great. That was kind
I,
of the idea.
I think that's a great sentiment, because and I'm not sure if we talked about this or if I have talked about this with other artists, but the romance or the mystique in a lot of things seems to be gone, because we know so much, because we have those devices and technology that can give us all the information at once. So it's an interesting
Story. It's
thing to
true.
think about.
Yeah, it's true. Like, and I think it's just really easy to just get lost in that and just think everything's like that, and it's super limiting. Like, I think it's just I think I'm really guilty of like having quite a closed mind about certain stuff, and it's like doesn't do me any favors. Like, just always be open, always don't expect too much. Like, just and so yeah, I think that's I don't know.
Yeah,
You want to
there,
like keep your life open to like surprises and like chance encounters and chance stuff and like I think just not like part of me I think that's that where I was kind of coming from with that song as well is like yeah just don't you don't have to explain it you don't have to explain
mm,
anything um I think with music as well that was the other thing was like we didn't really have a plan with any of these songs they sort of came out the way they've come out we're trying to kind of sort of decipher them but like even in the spirit of recording them was like a song like White Magnolias was just like layering cool things on top of each other and hoping that it will work, then it kind of did. So
and then people like me come around and ask you questions and having to analyze it.
your questions are awesome. Like I just really appreciate. I always appreciate how like just thanks so much for like I don't know like there's always like so much depth and
Oh, thank you
research.
so much. That's
Yeah.
well appreciated.
Oh,
No, I think what you mentioned, the line that always pops into my head is from that great dictator speech, that Charlie Chaplin speech. Our cleverness has made us hard and unkind, because I think we have all that cleverness and we know so much, but we I think sometimes forget we are humans and not robots who always do the right thing. We are very fallible, so it's we have to remind ourselves of that.
I'm so with you, and that's such a great quote, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard that speech the other day again, and it's so relevant still. So it's crazy.
Timeless, totally timeless, isn't it? Amazing.
Dave, Andrew, may I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me again.
Dude, anytime. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.